Make one of these super duper cute carrots. You can use them for a wreath attachment. You can use them to pretty much put anywhere. You can put them on your shelf just for decoration. You can put them in a Easter basket for like a little collection of carrots. You can so many things. You can just add it to a lantern. You can just put it in a coffee mug or in a vase, just kind of prop it up. It's so cute and super duper easy. So I saw these from the Dollar Tree and immediately fell in love with the idea. First of all, it's cute for a little sack for treats, yes, but let's definitely give it a little bit of a glow up. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our little piece here. Yeah, as you can see, I already have made several of them. I just wanted to show you how it comes. Dollar Tree. I haven't seen them in the past, but then I also wasn't looking. So the first thing we're gonna do, let's make the top. No, let's make the bow first. Okay. So I've already gone ahead and cut all of these. These are 8 inches long. I've already cut them all 8 inches and dovetailed the edge. So all I did on all of them, well, not all of them, but these ribbons, was fold it and cut on the fold up towards the edge. Nice and easy. Okay. So recently I've had some troubles and I've super bad carpal tunnel. So I've made these in several different ways by just laying them flat and then gathering them. But I found that pinching them in the stack kind of helps it be a little more separated. I don't know. It looks so much better like this. So we're going to use this teeny tiny little kids easy bow maker and start with our ribbon. So what we're going to do is I have some that are wired, some that are non-wired, and we're going to, do that. So 2.5 inch. What I do with these is, so I'm a wreath maker, and I put all of my extra ribbon in a bin or boxes. They're all color coordinated, and therefore when I want to make little bows like this, I just go and grab from that extra ribbon so that I'm not taking off my, the brand new spools or whatever I have calculated on the shelves that are, specifically for something else. So I'm not taking from ribbon for my designs. I'm just taking extra. So and then some of these that are non-wired were just completely extra that I just had kind of laying around from other projects. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add our 8 inch. I'm going to ruffle right up the center and put it down. Now what happens is that little scrunch there, doesn't let it lay flat. So it starts to kind of build up and give it some dimension like automatically, which is super duper cool. And then I just put it in there kind of the way I want it to be. Scrunch, scrunch, scrunch. So it just kind of starts to build up this bow, this little messy bow, whatever, call it whatever you want, this little messy bow, and starts to give it some dimension, which is cool. So this is I think this is a 1 inch, technically a 7/8 maybe, 7/8 inch ribbon. This did come off the spool because it wasn't extra. This is a D. Stevens, a nice, good ribbon. So I'm just going to take all these. So I just took, a good amount. You might be asking, like, how many different ribbons? It depends. How many ribbons do you have? Oops. Whoopsie. I have this little guy in there. I tried to make them all the same so that, since I'm a wreath maker, I tried to make them all the same so that if I list, or when I list them on Etsy, I can list multiples instead of having just different variations. Sorry about that. I'm looking at my pile, making sure I have everything. So I want a little bit of orange in there to break things up with the green. There we go. And then, of course, I know glitter isn't really Easter, but I just wanted a little bit of sparkle in there to add a little, just to add a little fun. And then, so I do have some going straight straight this way and then X's. It kind of just worked out that way, and I like the way it doesn't leave any open spots here in the center, so that's really nice. And then in here in the center it starts to get a little wibbly wobbly. I just do my best. Again, it's the stacking for me that I kind of fell in love with this little tool. Not that, I mean, I did need help with my hands, but not that, you know, you can't do it by hand and just scrunch it up. But this, I'm telling you, I know it sounds crazy, but it really did make a difference. Okay, so I have it all kind of just sitting there. Now I'm going to take a zip tie. So I'm going to use a zip tie, a wire, which is 24 gauge wire. I'm going to use my glue gun and then a little bit of extra ribbon on the top to kind of make things look good. Okay, so just pick that all up just like that. Go right over the top. Just do your best to keep it in a stack. Just do your best to keep it in a stack. And then before I tie it super duper tight, I'm just going to turn it over and make sure now the floppy ribbon, it's meant to be floppy, so I'm going to let that be, do its thing, have fun with it. And then I'm just going to make sure that that tie comes up to the top. And I'll show you how I'm going to hide that. But I'm going to tie it, pull it really tight. Okay, and then go off the top. There we go. Now, we don't want to forget to add, before we add our finishing ribbon, we don't want to forget to add the wire. Now, if I'm just making these little bows, I do add them to wire, so people can add them, you know, to their lantern. You can add this bow by itself. You can add it almost anywhere, okay? So we are attaching the wire so that it can, you know, be attached to anything. But then, of course, we want to hide the wire. So I'm just going to push that so it's a little bit flat. So now I have this cute little, but now I can see the zip tie. So let's take care of that. We have this little tiny, so these are all non-wired ribbon, just kind of, this one's actually from Hobby Lobby. Yeah, it was 4 yards, but I've gotten so much out of this one little tiny spool. I've decorated bunnies with it. I've added, you know, of course, I think I've made 7 of these already. So, of course, buying it half off, right? But for this project, the only thing I purchased was the carrot itself. Okay, so I'm going to go around the top just to make sure it looks good. And you can add any coordinating ribbons. Also, if you're making these for headbands, I would take the wires out so that the little kiddos aren't, you know, the mom spends $20 or whatever on the headband and then doesn't want to wear it because it's itchy, and that's because those wires are getting them on the head. So just make sure if you're using these for headbands, you're taking those wires out. I know obviously the biggest thing is making them without wires, a wired ribbon, but being a wreath maker, that's all I have. Mostly all I have is wired ribbon. So I'm just going to give that a nice push and then twist this. Just for extra because, you know, I get nervous. I'm just going to twist that so that it stays all together. Kind of twist that ribbon and the glue and smash it down. So now I have this cute little bow, right? This cute little bow that's fluffy. Again, you can add as many ribbons as you want. These are 8 inches long. Even the non-wired ribbons are 8 inches long. But now I have a wire to attach it to wherever I need it to go. So let's take our, of course I'm gonna take this just so that in case you can see it, I'm gonna take that right out. in case you can see it through. And then I'm just going to fill it with polyfill. This is just polyfill. It's not super expensive. Also, if you have leftover or old pillows, don't throw them away. You can use the stuffing. Also, you know, if you go to the store and buy like cheap $2.99 pillows, you can use those too. So all options. So I'm just going to stuff it in there so that it's not flat, and maybe a little bit more. So I am not making them like firm. They are definitely squishy for sure, but you can do it however much you want to put in there. That's up to you. Okay, if you want them more firm or whatever. I'm gonna just pull that a little bit. Okay. So that's ready to go. Now we're gonna make now very popular is, you know, sticking the greenery out of the top. And I thought, I want a softer way. Like I want a softer look. And so I made the topper out of just ribbon, and I fell in love with it. Sorry. I fell in love with it. And so we're going to start with the center. The center loop is going to be about 6 inches. And one more zip tie. The center loop is going to be about 6 inches. And they're just going to get a little bit smaller from there. Okay, just a little bit smaller from there. So I'm going to pinch maybe about 1 inch on the bottom. And my first loop is going to be about 6 inches. Not about, it is actually 6 inches. So from here to here, 6 inches. And then I'm going to pinch. And then from here, I'm just going to keep twist, loop, and my first 2 are going to be 6 inches. I'm going to pull that up, make sure they're about 6, perfect. And then from here, it's just going to get a little bit smaller every time I go. And I'm going to do 10. So pinch, twist, loop, a little bit smaller, pinch, twist, loop, that's 4, a little bit smaller, pinch, twist, loop, that's 5, a little bit smaller, pinch, twist, loop, a little bit smaller, pinch, twist, loop, there we go, pinch, twist, loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the last 2, pinch, twist. Now, usually when I'm making a bow, I start with the larger pieces and then they get smaller going to the top. This, you'll see why. Pinch. And then I get to cut that off. This is going to end up a little bit different because, I mean, I guess you could have done it either way, but that's the bottom. Because I'm going to then fold this in and see how it just kind of does its own thing. And I love the way that looks. And it just was a really good fold there. Hold on, sorry, I got glue that's getting caught. So I have the one last zip tie. I'm going to take a zip tie right around that corner, or right around that top. Real small, real short to the bottom. And I'm just letting, you see, I didn't do anything. I just let those kind of go together and they just kind of did their thing. I'm going to just squeeze that. And I'm not going to get it too far up. I'm just going to get it enough so that it will stay. go. And then I'm going to use that little lip there. I'm going to use that little lip there to make sure it goes down in the carrot. And then when I pull the tie, I want this part to be underneath so it kind of stays in there. So I'm just going to put it down in, and then once I have it tied, then I'll go in and just add a little bit of glue extra. There we go, nice and tight. And I have on all the ones I've made, I left this little tie here, not because I think it's cute by all means, but in case somebody wanted to use it to like hang it. It does fall forward a little bit, but okay, so then before I glue, I want to make sure it's as tight as it's gonna be. So that turned out great. That's just the way it fell, just the way it looks. It's just perfect. I'm okay with it some being that way. I might even, once it's all in, I might, you know, twist them around. But what I'm going to do now is just take my bow and add it to the front. Take my wire and come around that spot there. Nice and tight. Now, if I'm going to add it to a wreath or wherever I'm going to add it to, now I have a spot, a thing to use. Okay. Perfection. So darn cute. Obviously super easy. And then if you're making like a whole bunch of these, just cut all your ribbons like I did. Cut all your ribbons at once. And then the last thing I'm going to do, again, this stinking glue. Sorry, the last thing I'm going to do is take my glue gun and then go in and just glue, you know, just to make sure that it adheres. It's not going to come out. You know, the last thing you want is for the cute little topper to come out. You don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to go in, right where I know it's kind of getting in there. And then that is it. Super duper cute. I can use this to attach, or obviously if you are just going to put it on your shelf, you can wind this up and tuck it inside so you don't have to, you know, use it or have it scratching anything. And these can also be cut off if necessary or if need be, but so cute. I absolutely love them. They could be even great in a garland if you were making a garland. Just absolutely love. I appreciate you watching. All the links that you might need for us, maybe even the piece here, and the SKU numbers that I have will be in the description of the video, so make sure you check that out. Again, it's Melissa with Sincerely Creative Mom. I appreciate you for being here. I'm so lucky to have you watching. I hope this was inspiring. I can't wait to see yours. Make sure you text me if you make a picture, or if you make these, text me a picture so I can see. It's 810-498-2310. If you missed that, you can find it over at learnfrommelissa.com. It also has a list of all of the fun things that you may need from us. I'll see you soon.